Shalom, brother and sister truth seekers. Things are getting interesting. I guess there's not much to say today, other than, well, it does sound like somebody thought they saw the straight line today in South Africa. And I think there are interesting implications for that data when compared to what I came up with yesterday as well at my location. And actually in New Zealand, it looks like they've got some useful information to kind of help us understand what the Creators International Dateline might be doing. I'm not going to get into too much of that. I'm going to wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. Like if anyone can, please get out there and collect data. Because it's still useful to see somebody confirm that the arc has flipped, or that maybe we were wrong and maybe someone is seeing the straight line tomorrow. Like it's still certainly useful to have data for tomorrow. It can definitely help us understand some things, because there was one claim for the straight line today. So I mean, and it was a pretty decent data set, so it really could be. But it's just, it's good to have two or three witnesses, and so if at all possible, please. Unfortunately for me, I was fogged out pretty much all morning this morning, and I'm slated for rain tomorrow, so it's not looking good for me. But if the Creator has blessed you with sunshine and the opportunity, please get out there and help with this important work. But let's talk about what we got. So again, just leaving off from yesterday, the last thing that was really solid that I think we saw was the data I collected in West Virginia, 10 hours. It was looking like it was still a pre-equinox curve, slightly. So then we wrap around the time zones, get across that man-made international dateline, and the Gregorian date changes, and we land in New Zealand, and it's the 22nd for Asher, and he collected this data, and I dropped a red line on top of it. And this it's kind of hard. I'm not sure what's going on here. It looks like there is a string, but maybe it's higher up on the pin. Like when we pull strings, we need to make sure the pin is laying down on the data, because this picture kind of looks like this string is way up off of these data points, because that's the key thing. We want to compare where the string is with respect to these data points. And so if it is like choked up on the pin, it might just give an illusion that it's farther away. So anyway, I threw my own line on there at the actual point that the pin pierced the paper, and I tried to put it. The one thing with these pins is I can't quite see where the actual point is. It looked like this line comes in and this line comes. This is conservative, I think. Like, so you can see these points are lifting off of the line still a little bit. If I were to pull it a little bit more this way to try and get the middle of this pin wherever it is, it would just make that more pronounced. So at any rate, it looks like these points are still lifting off the line. So it's a short data set, though. It's only 8 hours, but thank you for your diligent efforts. It is. There's a possibility that this is still showing a curve. I think it's hard to tell with just 8 hours of data. We really like to try for 10 to be sure, but potentially this does appear to be still showing points off the line and a pre-equinox curve. So that would mean from West Virginia, going time zones to the west, all the way to New Zealand, still seeing the pre-equinox curve, the morning of the 22nd. Then we come to South Africa, and Wendy had 9.5 hours of data today, and she had the green pins today, and she thought it was looking straight. And Wendy's been doing this for years, and she's pretty experienced, and 9.5 hours of data. It isn't 10, but it is 9.5 is pretty good. So I mean, this is very likely. There's a strong possibility. And I guess just for those who might not be aware, it's just interesting because last year I think the fall equinox, the straight line was being seen more so on the 23rd, I think. For the summary video, we will be digging into the data and comparing to last year, but it's interesting. It has to do where the creator with where the creator's true international dateline is, and I'm starting to think that if the creator's true international dateline is closer to the west side, like if it's just to the west, like 8 to 12 hours to the west of the man-made international dateline, then we would be seeing the fall equinox on the 23rd, I think. But if the creator's international dateline is somewhere between that man-made international dateline and about 8 to 12 hours to the, oh, did I say that backwards? No, so for the oh, I apologize. It's been a long day. The if the creator's international dateline is to the east of the man-made international dateline, about 8 to 12 hours, somewhere in that half of the world, I think that would mean we get the fall equinox on the 23rd. If the creator's international dateline is to the west of the man-made international dateline, about 8 to 12 hours, I think that means we're going to get the fall equinox on the 22nd. So that's what we're seeing here. But I think last year we might have been seeing it on the 23rd. So it's just going to be good to, if at all possible, can we get one more witness tomorrow to confirm that no one else is seeing the straight line tomorrow, and potentially people are already seeing the flipped curve tomorrow. If we can get one person to confirm that somewhere, that would be very helpful. But thank you, Wendy. This is good. If we get nothing else, I mean, this is really 9.5 hours of data. That's definitely something to consider, and to potentially prepare us for what may happen this spring. And we will talk more about that as we get closer to the March equinox event for 2025. We'll kind of recap everything again. So this came in again from Texas. You can go back a few days ago. He submitted another picture of this, and you can see where the shadow was and kind of do your own comparison. But the way this thing, I guess, is supposed to work, you could just see here. So it'll hit this line for the fall and spring equinox. It'll be way down here for the winter, and it'll be this short one for the summer. So that seems fine. So it doesn't seem quite there. And I heard from the gentleman who collected this that he's a bit of a novice when it comes to sundials, but he has this, and he's been using it just to see how it works. But it doesn't appear to be quite to the equinox ring here. And that might just be because something isn't calibrated quite right. Maybe the stick needed to be a little higher. Maybe this thing isn't perfectly level. It seems like it has the potential to definitely give you a pretty close ballpark. Um, the big question I have is how much does this tip of the shadow really move each day? And I know it does actually move the most during an equinox event, so there's a chance if it, at any time of year this would be the best time to see data shifting, would be the equinox. Like, it's very, very, very small on the solstice events. Like, I'd find it hard to believe you couldn't pinpoint the exact day, I don't think, with this for a solstice event, but it might jump enough possibly for an equinox event, but it doesn't seem to have been calibrated for this equinox event, or it should have been on here. So but interesting. Definitely something good to be aware of, and maybe keep an eye on it for future equinox events. So that's it for today. Again, tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. Stay tuned. Anything that comes in, I'll try and post it live to this Facebook group. Solar tracking observations confirming the creator's times via Genesis 114. Yeah, preliminarily the straight line has been sighted, but it would be good to have one or two more witnesses confirming. a flipped curve tomorrow, or maybe showing that the straight line is happening for some folks tomorrow. So please help join in if at all possible this important work. And if you do, go for 10 hours of data. That's really what we're trying to shoot for, just because they're so close for these equinox events. Like it really helps to have the more data, the better, if at all possible. 10 hours we find it makes it really clear. So do what you can. Make sure you use a sharp gnomon, and uh, make sure your sundial setup does not move, does not get bumped by the cat or children running around or something. So I guess that's it for now. Stay tuned. Shalom, and may Abba bless as you continually seek out his truths in love with a pure heart.